Hi, I'm Dave from boyinaband.com, and welcome to day 2 of the 7-day song on hip-hop. Yesterday, I taught you how to make a lowrider-friendly hip-hop beat. Today, I'll be teaching you how to make a powerful hip-hop bass to accompany said beat, and get those subs shaking, as well as quickly explaining how to add some speedy hip-hop hi-hats. Okay, let's start with the bass. Now, there are obviously loads of different basses you could use for hip-hop, but 2 of the biggest schools of thought are whether you should hear the bass or just feel it. I'll teach you how to do both and combine them into a single powerful patch. So, right-click and create a combinator and call it da bass. Remember, you can't use correct spelling and grammar in your naming conventions when making a hip-hop song, or Dr. Dre will cry. In your combinator, make a line 6-2 mixer, followed by an instance of Thor's polysonic synthesizer. Initialize it, and open it up. We'll begin with the bass you can hear, so that people watching this on PC speakers will be able to notice something. We first want to set it to mono retrig mode up here in the keyboard modes. This means that only one note is playable at a time, and whenever a new note is played, it retriggers all the envelopes down here. Okay, I'll just put in some notes now so we can hear the effect as it builds up. Okay, I'll just solo out this bass effect and we'll get to work. We want 2 analog oscillators and a multi-oscillator. Set the analogs to sine waves and take one up an octave. And for the multi-oscillator, set it to interval detune mode, which is a cleaner detune mode than the random one, which it defaults to, and detune it slightly with the AMT knob there. Now run them through with the 2 and 3 buttons, and in the filter, take the ENV knob down and the frequency just about the middle, just to cut off that high end. Now let's take a listen to what we've got. Cool, so that's the start of our bass. Now, we come to something I've always been a bit afraid of. The shaper can do horrific things to your synth patches. It's kind of like the audible equivalent of that Will It Blend show on YouTube, and generally it doesn't blend. But in this case, I found a use for it. Turn it on and turn it to sine mode. Now turn the drive to about 1/4, and if we take a listen, so without it and with it. It adds a seriously powerful gritty edge with loads more harmonic content in the low end. Now, it's not that noticeable at the moment, but I'll bring it out a bit in a second and then show you how much of a difference it really makes. Turn the sustain up to full in the amp envelope, just so it doesn't lose any volume over time, and then right-click and create an M-class equalizer. Using param 1, turn the frequency to about 200 Hz, and then boost the gain by about 12 decibels, something like that, and then widen the bandwidth a little bit as well, just so it's emphasizing that low end. We're not boosting any lower than this because that's where the kick drum is sitting in the frequency spectrum. Remember, we boosted around 115 Hz for the kick, so that could get messy. In fact, if you want to be really tidy and take off the low shelf entirely, right-click and create a stereo imager. Take the crossover frequency right down to about 130, 120, something like that, and hit solo high band, and that'll just completely cut off anything below that. So if we take a listen now, let's just cut it off completely from below that point. Next, right-click and create a maximizer, M-class maximizer, and use that to bring up the volume with the input gain. So if we just turn that to full and hit the 4 milliseconds look ahead, that brick wall limits it so it doesn't clip. And take a listen again. That's brought the volume right up, so it's nice and consistent. I want to take it down a bit on the mixer so it's not completely peaking out on the main mixer here. Now, I'll show you the difference that shaper makes now you can hear it a bit better. If we take it off, and then put it back on, you can hear it's got that edge to it now. Also, a cool effect I found, if you take the analog oscillator that you took up an octave, down an octave instead, listen to how growly that bass is now. Sweet. You don't get that growl at all without the shaper. It's a dangerous power that can be used for good or evil, so it's up to you to decide which you are. Sorry, I recently completed the game Dragon Age and I'm still a bit scarred from that. Okay, so that's our audible synth. Let's learn how to make those speakers shake like an upper middle class English boy when someone starts threatening him over the internet because he's not making the tutorials they want to see. So rate this video, then join me in part 2 for the sub bass.